All right, let's just jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a massive, incredibly high-stakes topic, the Canadian mobility maze. And we're going to frame this by using the very rules of crafting a great presentation. We really want to pull back the curtain on this jarring contrast between the shiny, alluring dream that's marketed to the world and the strict bureaucratic reality waiting for you at the border.
To set the stage, take a look at this number. By 2026, projected visitor spending in Canada is expected to hit an absolutely staggering $140.9 billion. That's a 6% jump from 2025 alone. The allure here is just undeniable. It generates billions of dollars and supports literally 1 in 10 jobs across the entire country. So, naturally, the demand to get in, it's sky high.
So here is our agenda for today. Pitching the Canadian dream, navigating the visa maze, overcoming the financial hurdle, the DIY versus agent dilemma, why visas get rejected, and finally, a history of exclusion.
Section 1. Pitching the Canadian Dream.
That massive demand we just talked about, it is overwhelmingly international. Overseas markets are actually forecast to grow at an annual rate of 9.8% over the next decade. To put that into perspective, that's nearly double the pace of the U.S. market. People from all corners of the globe want to visit, study, and work in Canada.
Now, one of the golden rules of a great explainer is to simplify your message, right? Make it easy to digest. Well, marketers use this exact same principle to distill the incredibly complex process of international mobility. Because when you're selling a dream, you definitely don't lead with the red tape. You lead with the opportunity. Take a look at this Study Now, Pay Later program, which is heavily marketed to Nigerian students by certain travel agencies. They boil the whole thing down to 5 incredibly simple steps, even promising up to $65,000 in funding to bypass upfront tuition fees. Getting into programs like IT or early childhood education is made to look, honestly, as easy as picking a subject and hopping on a plane.
Section 2. Navigating the visa maze.
But the moment you commit to that marketed dream, you immediately hit a labyrinth of rules. Depending on your goal, the documentation requirements drastically diverge. For instance, a standard visitor visa lets you stay for up to 6 months, but demands incredibly strong proof of ties to your home country. Contrast that with a super visa for parents and grandparents. That one lets you stay for up to 5 years, but get this, you're required to purchase $100,000 in emergency medical insurance from a Canadian company before you even apply. And a study permit? Well, that needs official school admission and a totally different set of financial proofs.
Section 3. Overcoming the financial hurdle.
Another explainer rule is to tap into emotion. And it's absolutely vital to do that here, because the financial requirement is a huge source of frustration for applicants. It isn't just about having the money in the bank. It's about proving it to Canadian authorities, who demand ironclad, meticulously verifiable proof of your stability. Honestly, it can feel incredibly invasive.
You literally can't just show a healthy bank balance and call it a day. You need 3 to 6 months of official stamped bank statements. Oh, you got a sudden generous cash gift for your birthday? Well, unfortunately, that's a massive red flag. That can actually trigger a rejection unless you have a notarized deed explaining exactly where that money came from. Add to that pay slips, tax returns, and if someone is sponsoring you, their entire financial life needs to be comprehensively documented too. Section 4. The DIY versus agent dilemma.
Faced with a mountain of intense paperwork, you essentially have 2 paths. On one hand, the DIY route is cost-effective and gives you complete control over your application. But it's highly complex, time-consuming, and a single mistake can ruin your chances. On the other hand, hiring a visa agent provides you with expertise and saves you a ton of time, especially with complex cases. The catch? It costs money and requires you to put your entire future into the hands of a third party.
Section 5. Why visas get rejected.
So what happens when expectations meet Canada's strict visa integrity program? Well, contrast those billions in projected tourism revenue with this staggering reality: a 50% overall rejection rate for temporary visas in 2024. Over 2.3 million applications, visitor, student, and work permits were flat out denied. No way around it. That is a massive hurdle.
And the escalation here is pretty dramatic. In just 1 year, the overall refusal rate jumped from 35% in 2023 to 50% in 2024. For specific regions like South Asia, the refusal rate actually soared above 70%. The screening process is stricter than ever right now, heavily prioritizing fraud prevention and verifying your true intent. Let's do a rapid-fire review of the top reasons an application might get denied, because the burden of proof is immense. Missing a single signature? Denied. Vague ties to your home country? Denied. Submitted a generic, copy-pasted cover letter? That's an instant rejection. The authorities need to know exactly why you are coming, exactly how you are paying for it, and most importantly, they need an undeniable reason to believe you will leave when your visa expires.
But there's another explainer rule we can apply to reality here. Learn from mistakes to provide real value. You defeat the bureaucracy by doing exactly what those 2.3 million rejected applicants didn't do. You need flawless preparation, meticulously verifiable finances, and a highly tailored, deeply authentic personal explanation letter.
Section 6. A history of exclusion.
To truly understand why today's system is so exhaustively strict, we have to look backward. Tracing the evolution of Canada's borders from 1869 reveals a legacy of systemic exclusion. It started with an open policy, sure, but quickly evolved. The 1885 Chinese Immigration Act imposed a head tax based purely on ethnic origin. Then we see formalized deportations in 1906 and an order banning black immigration due to supposed climatic unsuitability in 1911. It wasn't until 1967 that things finally shifted to a skills-based point system. The fact is, Canadian immigration has always been heavily regulated and shaped by shifting notions of desirability.
The 1908 Continuous Journey Regulation is actually a perfect example of logistical weaponization. It didn't explicitly ban Indian or Japanese immigrants by name. Instead, it just created a requirement, a continuous, non-stop ticket that was practically impossible to fulfill at the time given global steamship routes. You could argue that today's massive documentation hurdles are the modern evolution of utilizing logistics to carefully filter who gets to cross the border.
Applying our final explainer rule, ending with a strong call to action or sparking curiosity, let's tie this all together. We've unpacked the billion-dollar dream, the stringent financial realities, and the historical barriers that shaped it all.
So, whether you're planning a trip yourself, helping a family member, or just keeping an eye on global trends, how will you prepare for the reality of modern global mobility now that you've seen behind the curtain of both the marketing and the legislation? Knowledge is power, and preparation is absolutely everything. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.